Hello and welcome to The Ripple Impact, the podcast where we dive into those fascinating small moments, big decisions and unexpected ripples that create waves of change in brands, businesses, leadership and in life. I'm Laura Barber, founder of The Ripple Impact and a brand strategist who spent over 20 years inside global giants like Coca-Cola and Boots, helping leaders turn human stories into brand growth. Each week, I sit down with bold founders, thinkers, and what we call wave maker guests to explore the ripple moments that have shaped their journeys and the lessons you can take to transform your business and your life. Today, I am so delighted to welcome Daniel Kemdeng to the show. He is the founder and CEO of Amero Coffee, a business rooted in a 90-year family farming legacy in Cameroon, built with a mission to champion fair pricing, sustainability, and community impact. Alongside this, Daniel brings over 2 decades of experience in global finance, including senior roles at JP Morgan and Societe Generale, making his journey one of both scale and soul. Daniel, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you with us here today.
Hello. Thank you, Laura, for the invitation.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get into your story today. It's such an interesting one. From finance to farming isn't the usual path. So I'm excited to get under the hood and learn about your journey, and for the listeners to get a little lesson into your life and the career that you've had. So at The Ripple Impact, we love to wind back to the beginning and talk about the big, what we call ripple impact moments that people have had in their life. Can you wind us back to the beginning and talk about some of the big moments in your life and in your career that's ultimately led to a 20-year career in finance and now this incredible purpose-led business?
Yeah, so I know on papers my career started in finance, but the reality is, I would say, is completely different. My life and career really started in the farm because I was born and grew up in a farming community in a small village called Jindun in Cameroon. I've been lucky enough to be part of a community where the sense of solidarity is something very very important. So that's how I got the right support from my family and community to move from my village and go and study in France. So I end up with a master's degree in mechanical engineering and then an MBA in finance. Then my financial career started in Paris with Societe Generale, where I spent many years working on derivative. And then after that, I moved to London. Why? Because in the region was the best place for me to really build a successful career in banking, but also because I've always been looking for the right way to connect back with my community. Felt like London was the best place for business. So that's how I moved to London. I then spent many years in a risk management company in the city. And then after almost 8 years at JP Morgan. So that's kind of the connection between the farm, the finance, and now the business. Because while I was building my career in banking, I was also looking at the right thing to do for my community. So that's how the coffee business kind of came up progressively.
I love the finance to farming. It's fantastic. But you had that business as part of your growing up, right? It was part of your family's legacy. So did you always know that you wanted to go back to going into farming and working in the family business? Or were you like, the finance career is what I want to progress, and then over time you've gone back? So what was the moment between you're drawn to finance and then the switch and transition back into the family business?
So my family has been into farming for many generations now, so more than 90 years legacy into farming. When I left my village, to be honest, I didn't know what I would be doing after. I didn't know I would be taking over all that the business to bring it to the next level. However, what I knew for sure was that my family and community came together to support me to go and study. And it was very important for me to find the right way to connect back, to give back to the community. So that's how I then, after a successful career in banking, the trigger point was when my dad passed away in 2012, and his legacy. So I started supporting the community on my personal income. then at some point, I remember what he used to say. My dad used to say, instead of giving fish to people on a daily basis, is definitely it's a lot more important to show them how to fish. So that's how I then went back 2 years ago. I went back to one thing that I know the best before banking, which is farming, coffee
Yeah.
farming. So I went back to farming with the idea to really regenerate the local economy in the area where I was born. And it was important to do that by showing other farmers how to do things, not just to explain them and to them what to do. It was important to go
Mm.
back in the farm myself. So I went back to my family farm, and then I decided to renew all the coffee trees in the farm. And then at the same time, I managed to convince the community for us to work together. So for those who wanted to work directly in my farm, I make sure that they have the right level of income to be able
Mhm.
to to take care of themselves. And for those who want to set up their own coffee farm, I give them all the training and all the support they need to be able to replicate the same thing that I'm doing in my own farm. At the same time, I set up a factory next to the farm where all the coffee we harvest is then processed, and then we organize everything and ship it around the world. And for me, it's something very important, because when I see all those people today with this smile on their face, I feel very happy, because it's important to give them back their dignity. Before, they were relying on me to pay for their children's school fees, or
Mm.
when they're sick and have to go
Mm.
to the hospital. But today, all of them are financially independent, and I feel very proud, especially when I see more than 10,000 farmers today who rely on this business.
Wow. 10,000 farmers, that's incredible. And as you said, you're creating a whole ecosystem, aren't you? And you mentioned it, but I do love that wonderful saying of, give a family a fish and they can feed their family for an evening. Teach them how to fish and they can feed their family for a lifetime. So that's exactly what you're doing, is creating an ecosystem and an ability for these people to earn their own money, to create their own life, is such an incredible legacy that you're creating. What did the finance world teach you that you've taken into business? Because, 20 years in huge organizations like JP Morgan, such a fantastic career in finance, to then step back to your family farm and take over the legacy of your dad. What have you taken with you that you learned in finance, and what you've learned as yourself, learned as a leader, that you are taking into your business now?
While finance really teach me a lot, and I'm leveraging all that on a daily basis, the first thing I would do is the understanding of the global market. So it's important to understand how the market work around I would say around the globe, and then see how to be part of that global market, and then being able to create a product from a very small local area, and then bring it worldwide. So
Mm.
the first thing I would say is the understanding of the market. The second thing is the leadership, because all the leadership style or different thing that I implement on the ground today, I really learn it from finance and stakeholder management. So
Mhm.
when you navigate in big industries, and like all the company I've been for more than 20 years, you learn a lot. You learn a lot from leadership, from stakeholder management, how to navigate different environment, how to influence people to get the outcome that you want. Also, something very important is the network. I would say I really build
Mhm.
my biggest network in the financial industry. And I'm using that today on a daily basis.
Incredible. As you said, really understanding the market and really understanding your position in that, building really strong stakeholder management, and yeah, such fantastic lessons for people to take on. What was the moment when you were in your finance job and your roles and you went, I'm going back to the farm, I'm going back to my legacy? As you said, you took over from your dad. What was the moment from that time in 2012 to where you got today? Because you're creating a fantastic brand, and that's not easy, creating something from scratch.
Yeah, that's true. The trigger point was my dad passing, and then I have to take over his legacy. And then with that, I was spending a lot more time on the ground with the community to understand the need, and then trying to figure out what's the best way to support. And when I set up the business, when I went back to farming and then decided to set up the business, initially it was just a better way for me to support the community. I wasn't really thinking something big. I was like, okay, if I can manage for them to be to be financially independent, so that they don't have to rely on me anymore, that would be a success. But things then really picked up so well that I realized that this was becoming something really big and needed my full attention. So that's how I then started to implement a lot of the things that I learned from my banking experience, and to really scale the business and then bring it to the next level.
Absolutely. As you said, from a mission to help the community to realizing actually there's something in this and this can be much bigger than what I'd initially intended. How wonderful that that wasn't necessarily the goal that you were going to aim for, but then that naturally happened through just, I assume, a fantastic product and a great business. How have you gone about turning it from family legacy to a modern, scalable brand in lots of different countries? Oh, that's a whole load of challenges. Talk us through some of the big milestones that you've gone from starting Amira to where it is today.
So we started. So as a brand, started supplying the roasted coffee beans to big client in London, and like Canary Wharf Group, who really love the product, love the project, and they wanted this coffee to be available for their resident. And then progressively, we have more company on board. We have hotel, restaurant, who was very excited about the quality of the coffee. A lot of people end up saying, well, we didn't know the difference between a bad coffee and a good coffee, but now with Amero, we really know what a great coffee looks like, and I'm very proud to hear that on a regular basis. So then from London, we started getting attention from many other European countries, and that's just on the roasted coffee. And in the meantime, we got a lot of requests from coffee roasters and coffee traders around the world who wanted to replace the different coffee the, uh, the coffee that they currently source from different part of the world. They wanted to replace those coffee with the great coffee from Cameroon. So that's how we end up with two main business line: the supply of the roasters, roasted beans to end consumer, but also the trading part of the green beans with many countries around the world.
Fantastic. And how important is that story of legacy and the family and the community been as part of that business? Is that something that customers and traders alike really value in terms of that element of sustainability and community? Talk us through the storytelling of your business and how that impacts the customer relationships you have and ultimately the people that are buying the coffee.
Yes, definitely. Today, people doesn't they don't just drink coffee. Yes, they love a good quality, very good quality coffee, but at the same time, they want to learn more about the process. A lot of people are frustrated when they realize that the very small percentage of all the coffee price, a very small percentage of that goes to the farmers. So when they come across a project like this where everything we get is feedback into the community and make sure that farmers can really live from what they're doing, is something very important and very exciting. And a lot of companies today are using that for their ESG strategies. And yeah, it's important for them to leverage the story. So we use the story as part of our marketing strategy, and the impact is quite huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as you said, like the true cost of coffee is really the people that are making it and the supply chain it takes to get it to the end consumer. Because coffee is one of the most consumed products in the world. It's a daily, sometimes multiple daily consumption for a lot of people around the world. And yet actually the people at the source actually get the least value out of the value chains. How does the fair pricing and sustainability work for Amira so that as you make sure that community is absolutely at the heart of the business model that you're creating, because that's a huge ripple on the industry, because that's not necessarily how all coffee producers and suppliers and supply chain works.
Yes, definitely. The good thing is because I was born and grew up in those areas in the coffee farm, I'm really aware of the struggle that the farmers deal with. I've always been very frustrated to see that. So even my family wasn't able to take care of themselves with the coffee they produce. So that's why it was important for me to make sure that we control the entire um, we say the entire chain from the farm to the cup. And with that, we eliminate all the, I would say, all the middlemen and be able to deliver a great quality product at a very good price for everyone. So that's how all the revenue we get can then easily be reinjected in the community and support the farmers. When you have many people involved in the process, well, so that's how business work. Everyone will be
Yeah.
taking I would say everyone will be taking their cut, and then you end up with a process where those who produce have almost nothing. So we managed to really find a way to control the entire chain, and the end consumer is very happy because they have a great quality product, and at the same time, it's a very competitive price.
Yeah. And as you said, the community and the growers and the producers have had a fair price, not just the
Exactly.
people along the chain. So that's fantastic. You've mentioned this already, but what have been your biggest shocks and frustration in the coffee supply chain? Because, as you said, it's such a long process, the entire supply chain from growth to consumption. What have been some of your biggest shocks and surprises that you're trying to alleviate through your business?
Well, my biggest shock was when I came into Europe the first time, and then I went to a coffee shop. And I saw the price of the cup of coffee. When you see how much you pay for an espresso in London or Paris or New York, and you compare to what the farmer get on 1 kilogram of coffee they produce, is crazy. It doesn't make any sense. And with that, I was like, no, this doesn't work. We need to fix it. So that's one of my main motivation, to make sure that if you buy your cup of coffee somewhere in the world, when you're drinking, it's important for you to know that a very good percentage of what you have paid really goes back to the people who produce those coffee, the
Yeah.
farmers. That's the beginning. Without those farmers, you will not be able to drink. You will not be able to drink your coffee.
Absolutely. Have you faced any resistance trying to build this much fairer, much more sustainable business, but also supply chain as well? Have you faced resistance along the way? And what does that look like?
Well, of course, you will always see actors some competitors who would try to make your life difficult, or some even try to sabotage your product. But when the quality is there, well, the quality of the product speak for himself. So the first thing I always say is try the coffee. I always encourage people to try it first. I will walk you through the process, the story, and then that's how we always win deals, because people have the quality. They love the product, and then after, the price is really competitive compared to the market, and then the story is there, so everyone can
Yeah.
really see the impact of all the great work that we do on the ground.
Yeah. Fantastic. I find often with businesses like with this, when they're genuinely rooted in local communities, there are such rich stories that people can utilize to tell the story of their business. Are you doing that? Because I've seen that done fantastically.
Well, I share the story every time I have the opportunity to, and because I spend a lot of time on the ground, so I always have some pictures and videos and things like that. And I do a lot of speaking engagement now. And one of them, when I was back in the farm a few weeks ago, I gave a keynote speech to a university. They did it directly from the farm, so it was very well received, and people really enjoyed. And also in February, I was invited to a private equity event in London, where I was speaking to more than 300 private equity stakeholders. The idea was to explain to them the importance of investing in business with social impact. And I was using my example to show them how the impact is not just social, but also on your finance. So the
Yeah.
return, the return is quite good. And people should think more about social impact when they're building their investment strategies today. Because social impact is not just for NGOs and stuff. You can really build a business with social impact and at the same time making a lot of money. And it's funny to say that, but the more social impact you have, well, the more impact you have on your financial return too. So I can see a great correlation between the social impact and the financial return.
Yeah, absolutely. Won't it be fantastic where we're not just measuring financial returns and bottom line and top line and margins and profit and EBIT, but we're measuring sustainable impact and social change when that's fully baked into the way that we measure, the way that we assess, and the way that we value businesses. So I completely agree. What would your ask be of the industry to truly make businesses more sustainable and more fair? Do you have a rally cry? Do you have an ask of the industry or businesses more broadly?
Yes, from a coffee industry standpoint, I know one of the challenge we have now is the climate change, and we're starting to see the impact on the ground. So it's important for the consumer to support company who are really doing fair trade, because with the money generated, we do a lot of work on the ground. We're not just making sure that people are financially independent, but we're also teaching them a new way of farming, keeping in mind the climate change challenges. So we make sure that the farming today is sustainable, and we're implementing different new techniques to make sure that we will be able to transfer all that to the next generation. So I would say to customers, when you're buying a cup of coffee or a bag of coffee in a supermarket, make sure that you look into the company, the process, and check if when they say fair trade is really fair trade, because a lot of companies always mention fair trade. If you look into what they're doing in detail, most of the time there's nothing fair into that. So
Yeah, isn't it sad when people use the almost the greenwashing, right, of claims and impressions and associations without actually doing the hard work that means that they can really support that as a message.
exactly, but the good thing is a lot of companies today, because of the ESG strategy that are really part of many global company today, they will be looking into all this type of detail to make sure that when they deal with a supplier, uh, they make sure that the supplier they bring on board is really in line with their ESG strategy, which is something great, because that will kind of put some pressure on many
Yeah.
suppliers to make sure that when they mention sustainability and fair trade, is really something that they are implementing on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, it puts a lot of pressure onto organizations and businesses to ensure that these practices, these processes, these metrics, these measures, these goals that they're trying to achieve are put in place and that they're held accountable for that. And I think that's why I love independent businesses like yours, because you're not doing it because you're told to do it and there's someone somewhere saying, here's a target, please can you reach it? You're doing it because sustainability and community is absolutely the heart and at the core of your business, of your mission, and what you're trying to achieve. And I know that you're not just building a business, you've also founded charity as well, supporting your local communities. And that is such a powerful combination, because I don't believe that a business can only be successful by making money. If you can really have social cause and mission at the heart of your business, then it's so utterly powerful to have profit and purpose absolutely intertwined and holding hands along the journey. I think that's so sustainable and so important and really, really inspiring. What impact are you hoping to have with Amira beyond the product and the incredible, delicious quality that you've talked about? What impact are you wanting to have? You're already having on the community. And if you can, I'd love you to tell us a little bit more about what it's like now in the community and what you're supporting and the 10,000 farmers. but also what you're hoping to do beyond that. Do you have a mission and a vision that goes beyond what you're doing today?
Well, remember when I set up the before I even set up the business, my purpose in life today is to fight against poverty, and I do that everywhere I am in the world. With with the coffee business with Amero, I managed to support more than 10,000 farmers today, and the plan is to move from 10,000 to 100,000, 1 million, and so on, and then scale it across not just Cameroon as a country, but also the entire continent, and I hope even further. How we say that's the impact from the
Hmm.
community standpoint. The other impact is on the entire industry. One, more and more consumer to first make sure that what they're drinking is a great quality product, and be aware of everything, that all the key points that are part of the process, and understand that what they're doing, when they buy a, 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 a cup of coffee, what they're paying have an impact globally.
Yeah.
And that impact is not just social, but it's also for sustainability. They're helping to fight against climate change. They're really transforming the entire ecosystem. For me, that's something. Really big.
Yeah. Incredible. Wow.
I think it's important for everyone to acknowledge and remember that they are part of a community wherever they are, whatever environment they navigate in. And it's important for them to kind of support their communities. Start with your small local community. That could be at home or could be even at work. You're part of a community, and it's important uh, uh, to always keep that in mind and make sure that when you're a team player and when you support others, well, that's how everyone will kind of
Hmm.
grow together, and you end up having a lot more impact because you cannot do anything on your own. You can do a lot of things on your own. It will be good, but you cannot do any great thing on your own. You need a team. You need an entire community around you, and for that community to support the cause that you're fighting for, where you need to be interacting a lot with them, you need to support them, you need to be part of it and very active within your own community. And then when you put all that together, well, we end up with a massive impact around the world, and that's how we progressively make our world a better place to live for everyone.
Yeah, amazing. And having community very much at the heart of your thinking, of your plans, of your behavior. I love that. It's such a wonderful thought. What advice would you give to other founders and leaders? Obviously, you've had a 20-year corporate finance career into working in the family and the farming legacy business to then creating Amero Coffee. Like, what advice would you give to others?
Well, I think it's important when you offer an entrepreneur mindset. It's important to believe in what you're building. Okay, make sure that you really take the time to define the purpose of what you're doing. Start with a purpose,
Mm.
and when you figure out what's your best purpose, you will have the all the energy to be able to build everything you need to get there. And because the entrepreneur journey is not easy, it's important to make sure that it's very difficult, it's very tough. And you need to have the right mindset to be able to overcome all the challenges that you'll be having on a daily basis. And with that, when you have the right mindset, you have the purpose, while you will be able to overcome everything and achieve your goal. And make sure that, I would say, you have the right people around you. Make sure you have the right network around you to be able to help you get to where you're going. No, it will be sometime you'll be questioning yourself if you have to give up or not. But when you believe in your project, you have the right thing, you have the right objective, you have the right purpose, you will just have to put all the dots together to be able to get there. So
Yeah, I love that. What would be your advice and what would be your ask of investors? Because obviously there's a huge amount of investment going from private equity to individuals. What would be your ask of investors in the context of your business, in the context of your in your products and in your industry?
Well, what I would say to investor is that when you're looking into a business to invest in, don't just focus on the financials. I would say on the financial return. Look at the social impact, because a lot of companies with a lot of business with impact struggle to get investment they need to be able to grow their business, to be able to 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 scale up. So it's a shame that they don't have, I would say, the correct access to investment, because sometimes their financial return are even a lot better uh, than uh, uh, than some uh, than some companies without a social impact. It's important today for whoever is looking for a company to invest his money in. It's important for them today to also look at the social impact and make sure that they progressively increase the percentage of money they're putting into company with impact.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if that was a priority? It just doesn't feel that it is at the moment. So I get that people need return, but shouldn't there be purpose at the heart, not just profit?
Yes, but I believe that progressively it will become a priority, because
Mm.
people will start seeing the financial return. People will start seeing more and more the
Yeah.
correlation between the social impact and the financial return. There will
Mhm.
be, and even for their own peace of mind, they will feel very happy. They will feel like we are doing something great for the world. We are not just investing for money, but we're changing millions of people's life across the globe. Which for me is something is which for me is something very 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 important to have in mind.
Yeah, fantastic. We have a lot of people, listeners and YouTube watchers on this channel who are in marketing, who are in brands, who are in strategy. You've created a brand from scratch. What advice and lessons would you give in the context of marketing and creating a brand and a business from nothing?
Well, I would say, depending on your budget, start with what you have and make sure that progressively make sure that you have the right people around you. You need the right specialist next to you to work with. So from a marketing standpoint, make sure you have the right person who specializes in marketing. Even when you start designing the brand, make sure you choose a good brand designer who will understand your need, who will understand what you're aiming for, and be able to come up with the design that really align with your with your objective. And then progressively you leverage all the technology we have today, including AI and all that, to progressively build up. And always, as I said from the beginning, always make sure you have the right specialists with you.
Absolutely. What I find sometimes with business and with founders is that they run so quickly into creating the brand, creating the logo, creating the fonts and the colors, and it's like go. And it's like
Mhm.
actually spending enough time on what's the story you're trying to tell, what's the mission that you're on, what's the purpose, what is the business really, what it's trying to do, and then creating a brand around it. Because I think sometimes people then have to unravel when it doesn't really tell the story that they want it to tell. So that's a really powerful lesson.
You cannot just create a brand and then try and then trying to connect the brand with your objective, with your mission, with what you're trying to I would say to deliver to your customer, what you're trying to make your customer aware of. It's important to start from the beginning. Make sure that you put all that on the table, and from that you will build. I would say you will build the right brand for your objective. You're building the right brand for your objective. If you do it the other way around, it might not work. So it's important to, at the beginning, to really take the time to drill down all the detail, and then and build it from there. And from there, you will really come up with the right brand that align with with what you're looking to do.
You're absolutely singing my hymn sheets. That's exactly what I do with founders and businesses. So couldn't agree more. My final question that we always ask at the end of the Ripple Impact podcast episodes. So we call our guests wave makers because they're making waves on the industry. And that is absolutely true of the work that you are doing with your community, your business, with Amero Coffee, with the incredible community and the support that you're giving them, as well as the brilliant products and the sustainability and fair trade. So thank you so much for that. What would be your advice for aspiring wave makers?
Well, I think I would say it's important to take the time to understand the environment you're looking to impact and understand what's the need, how does it currently work, and what will the future state looks like. And then based on that, you will come up with the right tool and the right element to be able to shape the current environment and then kind of force them to change. Because I know it's always difficult to bring change in environments. So one of the key things to do is to really take the time to understand how the current environment works. The more you know how the current environment works, the better you will be able to define the right solution for the future. And then when you know where you're going, you will be able to do things more efficiently. You will be able to then come up with the right parameters to be able to impact things and get to your target solution.
So real future back thinking. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to get to? And really shaping and changing and challenging businesses, organizations, systems to be able to do exactly that. So I love that forward-thinking mentality. Daniel Kemdeng, thank you so much for your time today. Your story is such a reminder that the biggest ripples often come from reconnecting where you are from, where you started, your community, and absolutely having that at the heart of your business and of your strategy, and choosing to build something that has real impact far beyond yourself and far beyond the product. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. For everyone listening and YouTube watching, keep chasing your curiosity, stay bold in your decision making, and never underestimate the ripple impact, the choices and the stories that you tell. If you're looking to elevate the human storytelling of your brand and your business, please get in touch with us at the Ripple Impact so we can see how we can help your business grow. Please check out Daniel's incredible work and Amero Coffee. We'll drop all the links in the descriptions. That is a wrap on this Ripple episode. Tune in weekly for more bold voices and inspiring wavemaker guests just like Daniel. I'm Laura Barber. This is the Ripple Impact. We will see you all next week. Daniel, thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.